What's up? I'm coming at you on the floor. I've always wanted to do some sort of podcast where I get to talk to people from laying on the floor, and that's because I want to speak from a more meditative space. And I feel like it is nostalgic. It comes from this nostalgic place of when you're a kid and you're laying on your back and you're talking with like your siblings, or you know what I mean. I never had sleepovers, so I only like got to interact with my family and my friends. Well, not my friends, but my cousins. So it brings me back to that place of nostalgia for having those late night talks. I have my phone with me just because my camera shuts off like every 11 minutes, so I have a timer just so I don't lose what I'm saying. But also because I have an outline of things I would like to speak about so I don't forget and derail from the things that I really do want to speak about. So now that we got that out the way, I want to start with speaking the Reiki principle. And the Reiki principle is something that we say every single day, but it's also a lifestyle. It's something that we continuously live by. And the Reiki principle is, just for today, I will give thanks for my many blessings. Just for today, I will not worry. Just for today, I will not be angry. Just for today, I will do my work honestly. Just for today, I will be kind to my neighbor and every living thing. So, how this started was I saw my friend Timothy. He shared a post that said the coronaissance, and it was talking about how artists in this time period may feel alone, but to combat feeling alone, we're going to be creating in this time period. And I like that because the Renaissance, the definition of Renaissance means a new beginning, and it talks about like a rebirth. And I feel like that's what is happening now in this time period, is that we are having a rebirth in our society through quarantine. So because we are staying inside and creating a new world, I feel like it is a new beginning that's being made from something that started with fear, and with destruction comes a new beginning. If you think about Kali Ma, the goddess, she is known for destroying everything, but with destruction comes creation. And I feel like in this time period, a lot of people are faced with a lot of time on their hands. And I made a list of things that we can do in this time period to make use of our time in a pretty productive way. I feel that like a lot of people who are not used to being told what to structure their day with, or like they're not used to having so much freedom with their time, don't really know what to do. So I decided, first of all, you can make art, you can make music. There's a lot of musicians I know right now taking this time period to go into the studio and make a whole bunch of new tracks, you know? So there's that option. You can learn a new skill. You could literally Google anything in this time period, and it's such a beautiful thing. Like before, you used to go to the library and you have to like search through indexes and go through all these like, you have to go through so many different books just to find the information that you're looking for. But we're so blessed in this time period. You have so many different resources in seconds, and I feel like that's so wonderful. You can always clean your house, you can Marie Kondo your whole entire belongings. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm actually cleaning out my closet for a clothing swap. You can do yoga or exercise. There's literally so many resources on YouTube. Check in on your loved ones, watch anime and cartoons, play video games. I'm actually playing Final Fantasy VII right now just to prepare for the remake coming out in April. You can journal how you really feel and don't judge yourself, but just allow yourself to flow and be with the emotions. You can script for the future. And what I mean by scripting is it's a law of attraction manifesting technique where you journal about things from the perspective of already having it. And so what I'm doing that for the future is I'm scripting the future that I would like to see. So what this looks like for me is I am talking about love, peace, and compassion, respect, empathy for all living life forms on this planet, and even respecting nature itself. And I feel like it's so beautiful in this time period to know that the pollution, the air pollution in so many places have been clearing up because we decided to quarantine for a couple of weeks. And just in a couple of weeks, we've seen so much go away from that atmosphere. And I think that's so beautiful because of global warming. You can always meditate, you can masturbate, you can find and listen to new music, you can listen to so many different podcasts, read different books, cuddle your animals, and yeah. So the reason I wanted to speak about this today is that I'm realizing the state of the world right now and how it is actually correlated to our ancestral karma and how we are at the threshold to transmute this pain into power. I've been hearing about it in my feeds, so I've affirmed to myself that I am happy, healthy, and that I feel real good. However, I was working at a tattoo shop this past weekend for Friday the 13th and learned quickly that even if I feel good, doesn't mean everyone else feels the same way. Once all the events started to get canceled, I realized how this is going to affect me and my communities moving forward. Then on Monday, it was announced that the SF Bay Area was going to implement a shelter-in-place policy at midnight, asking us to quarantine ourselves at home and limiting social interactions. The only businesses open are essential businesses such as grocery stores and pharmacies. Restaurants, for instance, are asked to be pickup or delivery only. The main reason why we are in shelter-in-place / quarantine is because of the medical facilities cannot handle many of us being sick at once. Already they do not have enough respirators for those who have lung issues with COVID-19. And what this means is if it's an epidemic and if all of us were to be sick at once, they would not have the facilities to treat all of us at once. And it would further increase the amount of deaths versus what we're doing right now is to do what we can to reduce the spread, but also to reduce the amount of harm this can bring to humanity. For me, I see this as a heart chakra issue because lungs are correlated to the heart chakra and our emotions. Our emotions generate the illnesses that manifests in our bodies. As a Reiki practitioner, I see this as the world coming into balance with our chakras. And as an apprentice of a blood shaman, we work within the shadows and amongst pain. Releasing that pain and transmuting it is important. I know that the world is going through the same thing. We're transmuting the collective pain that has existed before us. And what it makes me think of is the book It Didn't Start With You by Mark Wolin, which talks about our inherited traumas within our DNA and why we feel them. Before the quarantine was announced, I woke up at 4 a.m. and was told to make some curry. And while I was making the curry, I realized the colors responded to the chakras needing attention. I was throwing in paprika, turmeric, yellow curry, yellow and orange bell peppers, broccoli, and mushrooms. So those who are not familiar with chakras, the red chakra, which is our root chakra, is our sense of stability in life and survivability. And when this is imbalanced, it makes us panic. It makes us feel that we are not grounded or safe in this world. And this is affected by the fact that people are out of work in this time period and don't know what to do and how to survive. The orange color corresponds with the sacral chakra, which is our sense of connection with other life, intimacy, and emotions. And this has to deal with us being isolated right now. The yellow chakra, which is our solar plexus chakra, is our ability to feel pleasure and our inner power. And this comes from the fear from mass media and our sense of our power being taken away from us. To harness your chakra alignment and say that your needs are met, that you deserve to live without anxiety, that you are grounded and stable on this earth, that you have the ability to feel pleasure regardless of what happens, that you own the power within you, that you can still connect with spirit, the earth, and nature. These lower three chakras are definitely shaken by this, and we observe it and see it in the immediate panic. Most of us cannot take 2 weeks off and do nothing, but the time it gives us to reflect and think about the things we tell ourselves that we do not have time for is important. It's giving us the time to do the things that we have set aside for a long time. Many of us have been going with no rest, no time for ourselves. We say we want to do things, but we don't see how we can do it because we don't have time. Now we are given time, but we are stressed because things are at a halt. We're stressed on survival, we're stressed about bills, and we don't know how they're going to be paid for. I see this as a mental, physical, and spiritual cleansing time period. And when I was watching Steven Universe Future the other day, there was an episode where Steven was swelling up from all his trauma that he hasn't dealt with. What helped him was his dad being there for him emotionally, and that's what we need to do for each other now, is nurture each other from this time period. Everything was triggering him, and that's what our world is going through now. We react like everything is going to end because we had this trauma response from so many disasters. This trauma response has caused people to hoard food supplies and toilet paper. Some people even lined up to buy guns. The threat is no longer outside, but within. We are being asked to stay home, and people don't know how to relax or be at peace. A lot of us are reacting out of fear and out of trauma. I realized when I was going to buy groceries the other day, a lot of people were reacting out of fear, especially when you see empty shelves and this lack in scarcity. I see numbers all the time, but I seen 666 that same day, and it reminded me that we have imbalances in our thoughts and we are focusing too much on lack and scarcity. The more we focus on that, the more we see it. It's a law of attraction principle that the more we focus on something, the more we receive. So we have to shift our thinking to seeing that we actually are safe and protected and that our shelves are stocked. What's been keeping me sane through this is actually meditating and writing a list of 10 things I'm grateful for daily. It's impossible to be thankful and feel bad at the same time. I realized on April 7th, when the quarantine is supposed to end, is a full moon in Libra, and Libra is all about love relationships and balance. How I see that is, it's telling us to come into balance, and maybe it's needed that we take this time out for the next 2 weeks to find it. During the quarantine, on the 24th, we have a new moon in Aries. Aries is the beginning of a new cycle, which goes on with the new beginning we're going to see in the world, the coronaissance. It's funny too, because corona means crown in Latin, and this also talks about the crown chakra. So in many ways, it's telling us to deal with the imbalances in pretty much all of our chakras, and the world needs to align its fucking chakras. Aries talks about power and strength, that we will get through this just fine. Time alone scares people because being with our thoughts can be scary. Dealing with our shadow can be scary, but it doesn't have to be. Shadow work is one of the most vital things we can do because it's integrating the shadow into the self and making friends with it, instead of resisting the parts of you that you don't like and suppressing it. Suppression isn't healthy for anything, and the karma we hold from generations is coming to surface to be healed. In order to heal from trauma, we need separation and distance to be able to get away from what has harmed us. In many ways, that is what the quarantine has done. It has distanced us from our everyday routines. If we don't work in an essential business, it has shaken up our realities. It's giving us a timeout to be able to process how we feel. In many ways, my birthday was canceled, but the world's air quality has improved. People are finding compassion and empathy for one another, and we're taking time out to evaluate our broken systems and how to fix them. In many ways, I cannot be more thankful to this blessing in disguise, and I'm thankful for the changes made within me and around me. From this point, I'm just gonna speak from the heart and talk about how I've been reading tarot and the messages that I have been getting in regarding the energies in the collective at this time period. And everything that I've read for in this time period has told me that we're going to get through it just fine. There are things that are coming to the surface to be healed, and there is this chaos and this sense of like instability, but we're going to get through it. And it is a blessing in disguise. Sometimes that's how it happens. Sometimes we don't move, and sometimes we get so in our comfort that we refuse to change. But when natural disasters happen, when things are shaken up, then we are able to make changes to our lives that we wouldn't have necessarily made. But the fact is, we're being asked to stay home. A lot of people don't realize that, yeah, no one's coming at our doors, no one's gonna be trying to like hurt us, but we're so traumatized that our response is thinking that we need to go stock up on guns, we need to go buy a lot of food, there's something that's gonna happen. And I think that is a response from trauma, because a lot of the people who are doing that are people who lived through earthquakes, who lived through riots, who lived through wars, who've seen lack and scarcity. And so they feel like, is this the end of the world? It's not the end of the world. We're being asked to take care of our emotions, our well-being, and the planet. And I feel like people don't understand what that means or how to react to that. We didn't even have vocabulary to deal with our mental health up until this point. A lot of us have been dealing with depression and anxiety and so many mental problems, but we don't even think about that. A lot of our ancestors before us didn't have vocabulary to talk about abuse or narcissism or control and sociopathy or psychopaths. Like, we didn't have these languages or how to identify those behaviors and what to do when you are met with that. A lot of our ancestors were hurt. A lot of our ancestors were killed just simply for being them. And I feel in this time period, it's more important than ever to be who you are and to and express yourself. And that's why I feel like the coronaissance message is so vital. It's an artist's perspective for navigating through the bullshit. If you guys ever have read The Four Agreements, it talks about being the artist of your life. Like, the Toltec's way is being the artist. You are the creator. So if you are the creator, what do you want to create? I want to create a better future. I want to see a world filled with art, and I want to see art being valued. A lot of the people right now who are shaken by this are the artists, are the performers, the people who work in small businesses, craft makers, tattoo artists. There's so many different people who are taking a hit because they're not able to make funds because everyone's freaking out about their lack of stability. So even sex workers are not able to be reliable in this time period where they usually make their money. They may not make it in this time period because we are practicing social distancing, that it is harder for a lot of people in this time period to get by. So I feel like the people who are stable, it is very important in this time period for you to try and support other people. And I think that's part of it is coming together with our communities and giving resources to one another. If it's every man for himself and we don't care about anyone who's around us, like if we're doing good but you can watch someone else suffer right in front of you, like it doesn't feel right, because the whole world is connected. And to see like it does, like to say like if you see suffering it doesn't matter, it does matter. And I feel like because I am such a Pisces, that's part of why I want to be comfortable laying on the floor and lay around some candles and talk about empathy and compassion and trying to change the world, is because I really do feel strongly about that. And not only about that, but just I care so much. As creators, I feel like it's important to share that vision and to express yourself in the darkest of times, even when it's not appreciated. I feel that if your dream and your vision is important to you, then you need to continue to create it. It doesn't matter if it's the most tough thing in the world to do, or even if you're not supported in the current moment, because I know how that feels and I've been through it, and it's literally like maybe in this past year I'm starting to see some form of support and success with it. But being like a punk artist and not really getting paid so much and wondering when the next paycheck is going to come in, when are you going to be fed next, it doesn't give you the most security in the world, but it's worth it. I feel like if I wasn't able to make art or do art for a living, there's really no point of me trying to be on this planet. And I know a lot of people feel the same way, especially if they are artists themselves. I know that there is a big change coming, and I know that we can navigate through these tough times. Something I also wanted to touch on was when I was in the supermarket buying food, there's this man who approached me and I was just going to buy my week's worth of supplies. And he's like, you should buy maybe like a month's worth of supplies, just because the government is going into quarantine and we're going into shutdown. And he kind of freaked me out. And I feel a lot of us might have been buying into that fear. I did for a little bit, up until I saw that message of 666, that I had to pay attention to my thoughts and rebalance them. It's very interesting for me because I lived in a place of fear for a really long time. I was raised on fear. Literally, I was it's so funny. Like I was seeing this meme and this person wrote, being a girl in an Asian household, I've been in quarantine my whole life. And I related to that very heavily, just because that was also my experience growing up in the world where I was like, there was a lot of things I could and couldn't do. A lot of people might have felt this way. And when you grow up like that, it gives you the sense of fear that the world is scary, that if you're a girl, you might get kidnapped or raped. And it sounds so ridiculous, but why live a life of fear that these things could happen to you versus a life of freedom and a life of love and a sense of security in the world? I feel like I already known a reality that was filled with lack and scarcity and fear, that it's already been done. We don't need to go through that again. what we need to do to move forward is to take this time period to reflect, to think about the things that the programs that we have been running in our lives that have been giving us restrictions, that has been telling us that we don't have time, that certain things cannot be done at this time period, but in reality they can. There are certain things I've noticed I've told myself I didn't have time for that I'm doing now, like cook for myself, or like starting a Patreon, or like doing something to change my way of income, because the way I was living was also, as a freelancer, I was living from gig to gig, month to month. And that needs to change. There needs to be more stability for artists, and we need to figure out how to create that. It's not okay if you're going month to month on any job, even if it's not a creative field. Like if you're living month to month just doing other jobs, I feel that this is a time period to reevaluate that and what is working, what's not working for you. When I was going through my own depression for a couple years ago, I was heavily in suicidal ideation. And this is when I realized that the life that I've been living before this was not fulfilling. It only brought me sadness, and it has only brought me mental illness. It did not bring me any form of satisfaction. When I started to awaken and make changes in my life, it was some of the hardest things that I had to go through, but the journey itself was worth it. And how I compared that was to Lord of the Rings, There and Back Again by Bilbo Baggins. It's very similar. He almost fucking died on that trip, but he still fucking threw the ring in Mordor. And that's how I feel. Like sometimes we might feel like we might be dying. We might feel like we're not going to get through it. But did he ever give up? He did not give up. He still was going. He still threw that ring into Mordor. He still went on more adventures. And that's what we need to do for ourselves, is realize that this is not the end. This might be a timeout. This might be a break. But it's not the end of our adventures. And there's so many other things coming ahead of us that we don't even see. There's so many blessings coming to us, and this is one of them. Even though we don't realize this is a blessing, I'm thankful for this, because it's giving us this time to be shaken up, to reevaluate. With my depression and mental health, going through that time period, I realized that it was so hard for me to feel pleasure. I couldn't feel pleasure for anything. I couldn't feel happiness for everything. I was just so sad. Everything that I looked at was politics. Everything that was wrong in the world, I was crying every single day. And then I realized that pleasure is an activism itself, and allowing yourself to feel pleasure and feel happy regardless of what's going on in the world. Like, you have to shift your focus to being able to see the brighter side of things, to be able to be grateful every single day. And the more you are able to feel grateful, the universe is able to deliver more great things to you. As I have shifted my reality, I've known that experience to be true. And I know that a lot of us, if we take this time to start finding things to be grateful for, because I know that we run our lives from every single day, we run this routine, we run the same program. We go to work, we do these same things, like we're in the same loop. What this is asking of us is to destroy that loop and figure out what do we want to create. Because sometimes you start to evaluate, and then when you get back into the loop, you realize that the loop is no longer meant for you. You've broken the cycle. So maybe some people might go back to work and realize they don't want to go back to work. Maybe they found something else that they really like to do that they enjoy more than that, and something that they're passionate about. The thing is, when you chase your passions and you're doing something that you really love, the divine will always take care of you. If you have this thing, if you have a dream, it doesn't matter if you feel like right now what you need to do is survive and you're working a job that you hate just so that you can survive. That's totally valid. It's, you know, we do need money to get by in this world. But it isn't to say that you can't do what you love. Even if it's hard to get it started, it doesn't mean that it cannot be built. Being a crust punk artist and not having much, I still had a dream to start my business, especially because I had to quit doing sex work because Sesta Fosta went into play, and I know a lot of people still do it, and there's different ways to get around it now, but I was a dancer primarily, and with the contracts, it really ruined dancing in California. I had to figure out other ways of making money, and it's not like that was my passion to begin with. I was doing that merely to survive. My original passion was to create art, and I thought that if I took that job, I would be able to have more time to create art, but then I was working 5 days a week at the club and getting drunk every night and doing drugs. So the divine had to step in and was like, well, you can't be doing that anymore. And that was the blessing in disguise. Was from that point on, I actually learned how to make my business happen, even though I didn't know anything business related. I just knew the art side. And when I created my art, I started doing so much more. I ran out of space in my studio, and I manifested a place, a live work loft, where I can work from home and where I can create in peace, and it has more space for activities, so I'm not feeling cluttered. This is like everything I've ever wanted, but I took a chance by saying I believe in me and my dream. A couple years ago, I wouldn't have believed you that I am doing it, but it happened. So if you believe in yourself and your dream and your vision, it is possible that you can build alongside it, and you don't need to know how it works. You just need to believe that it will happen, and the universe takes care of it for you. And I know this for a fact because I didn't think this was possible, but I'm here, and I'm just so thankful to have my space to create, because a lot of people can't create right now, but I literally can just go downstairs and go to work and create more stuff. And I think that's beautiful. And if you don't have that opportunity or that type of space, it isn't to say that you can't create it. You just have to write it down and say that you want it. So take this time to think about the things that you do want in life. Definitely think about if nothing else mattered, like if money wasn't an option to you, if you didn't have to be like, oh, if X, Y, and Z were a factor, just write about things that you really want to see, and in the next couple of weeks, see how the universe can deliver that to you. And it may be small offerings at first, but it isn't to say that it isn't possible. I appreciate y'all so much, and if you took the time out to listen to this today, maybe like, share, subscribe, post a comment, share your stories. I'd really appreciate that, and I am very appreciative for anyone who fucks with me. Thank you.